pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Well, Bulldogs, today is Valentine's Day. Send a box of chocolates or a nice card to a friend.
Here's some history on Valentine's Day.
Did you know that Valentine's Day originated from the Roman festival of Lupercalia, which was held in mid-February? February is Black History Month. The theme is African Americans and the vote. 2020 is an important general election year and landmark for voting rights.
That's right, 2020 marks the 150th anniversary of the 15th Amendment in 1870, which gave the right of black men to vote in the following Civil War.
Some say that we need more diversity in areas of leadership. The belief is that having a diverse group of leaders will help balance the scale of power so everyone feels like they are represented. Today we celebrate Shirley Chisholm. In 1968, Chisholm made history by becoming the United States' first African American Congresswoman, beginning the first of 7 terms in the House of Representatives.
After initially being assigned to the House of Foster Committee, she was shocked by demanding reassignment. She was placed on the Veterans Affairs Committee, eventually graduating to the Education and Labor Committee.
Chisholm became one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus in 1969 and championed minority education and employment opportunities throughout her tenure in Congress.
Chisholm went on to make history yet again, becoming the first African American and the second woman to make a bid for the U.S. presidency with a major party when she ran for the Democratic nomination in 1972.
In announcing her bid, Chisholm said, "I am not the candidate of Black America, though I am black and proud. I am not the candidate of the women's movement of this country, although I am a woman and equally proud of that. I am the candidate of the people, and my presence before you now symbolizes a new era in American political history."
Throughout her political career, Chisholm fought for education opportunities and social justice. Chisholm left Congress in 1983 to teach.
The word of the week is central idea.
When you provide the central idea, you tell the most important point overarching the idea of the source/text.
You can find the central idea in the following ways. You can look at the topic sentence, look for repeated words or ideas, or even other things. Now, what is the central idea of this quote? We are thankful to our community for renewing our educational programs in Operation Flood. Early election returns showed the levy passing by 61.5%. To pass, levies in Washington state must receive more than 50% approval by voters. Thank you to all who voted and helped us to inform the community about all of the important programs the levy funds.
Are you in 8th grade? Gibson Eck is now accepting applications from current 8th grade students for the 2020 to 2021 school year. Gibson Eck is a project-based real-world learning school where students personalize their learning through projects, design labs, and internships in a vibrant and supportive environment. Applications are being accepted online through Gibson Eck's online application process. The deadline for submission is Monday, February 24th, 2020.
The next district-wide middle school dance is set for Friday, March 27th, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m. at the Issaquah Community Center. $5 at the door. This is the place to be on a Friday night. All youth, grades 6 to 8, are welcome to attend this DJ dance provided they have a photo ID. ASB card works great. $1 concessions are available.
Fun fact, it's illegal to own only one guinea pig in Switzerland. Denying your pet the chance to make friends with the members of its own species could be considered an act of cruelty. At least in Switzerland, according to Techly, an animal rights law introduced there in 2008 makes it illegal to own just one guinea pig at a time.
Also, in world news, NPR reports that ghost DNA in West Africa provides more information about our origins. According to scientists, about 50,000 years ago, ancient humans in what is now West Africa apparently procreated with another group of ancient humans that scientists didn't know existed.
There aren't any bones or ancient DNA to prove that theory, but researchers say the evidence is in the genes of modern West Africans. They analyzed genetic material from hundreds of people from Nigeria and Sierra Leone and found signals of what they call ghost DNA from an unknown ancestor.
For more information, read more about the findings on ghost DNA, published in the journal Science Advances.
We hope you enjoyed your week of kindness and gratitude, Bulldogs. Enjoy your break, and here is our week in review.
We're just gonna. So we're going to read the part when Nathaniel had his major surgery, because Nathaniel had to breathe through a breathing tube, because his nose was blocked and his jaw was so small, so he couldn't use his nose and his mouth to breathe. So for 13 years of his life, he had a tube inserted into his neck, and that tube helped him breathe. But the problem with the tube was when he was little, kids would pull on it and try to grab it, and and that wasn't not a good thing. So we have this huge surgery. When Nathaniel woke up, he knew this is going to happen. The doctors saw his eyes shut, so he was blind. And then they wired his mouth shut, so he couldn't talk or eat. They put a G-tube in his stomach. He had a trach to breathe. Doctors took his hearing aid because he was born with no ears, so he couldn't hear. So he was blind and deaf.
And the cool cartoon in this one, I loved it. I didn't see this one. Truth be told, I have a very hard time reading the book because I get very upset. It makes me relive. So the proofreading process was really hard on me. I got yelled at a lot. As you can tell, my wife.
But you will see what he reads. It's not going to be a sad story.
And
It's
the cool
going to
cartoon
start sad.
shows him in a cage, and it reads, "Must set self free." So with that, and no further ado, the great Nathaniel Newman will read to you.
The first few days after the surgery were really bad, and I never say that about surgeries. But my eyes were sewn closed. I couldn't wear my hearing aid. There was nothing for me to do to distract myself. I couldn't even eat food because my jaw was wired shut. I couldn't lie down with the halo on, so asleep or awake, I was sitting up. It was dark and quiet all the time, so the only way I knew it was daytime was when I felt awake and alert. But what difference did it make? I was trapped in the darkness, still drugged up, falling asleep and waking up. I hated that part. My parents took turns holding my hand, so I always knew someone was there. When they went to the bathroom or coffee, they said squeeze once. They said squeeze my hand twice if that's okay. 3 squeezes meant I love you, 4 meant I love you too.
Slow down.
My parents made small talk, filling the time talking about anything they could think of. My favorite story took place when Smokey was still a puppy. We went to visit Uncle Hal and Aunt Nancy, who had moved from Long Island to a farm in Rhode Island. They grew vegetables and had roosters and chickens. As you might imagine, my mom felt very upset. We were staying in the guest house, which was connected to the main house by a bridge. There was an outside staircase leading up to it, and every morning at 5, the roosters would start crowing and curious chickens would come up the stairs to see who was staying in the guest house. Smokey would bark like crazy. One morning, my mom woke up to the sound of screaming. She ran downstairs and saw Aunt Nancy in pajamas, one flip-flop, her hair a mess, waving a long stick in her hand. My dad was yelling, "Smokey, no!" And Smokey was standing in the bushes, holding Domino, the biggest, most beautiful rooster by the tail, shaking him. Finally, Smokey let go of Domino, who in that life and death moment figured out how to fly, and flapped over the fence to the cow farm next door. Smokey had blood and some of Domino's black and white feathers in his mouth. We found Domino's huge tail nearby, and the poor rooster was crowing next door. He had survived, but among the roosters he had lost his status. He instantly went from high ranking to low ranking. Smokey had to be on a leash for the rest of that trip, and we never brought him back to my aunt and uncle's house. I loved that story, except that it made me laugh, and in my state I was completely incapable of laughing. But I think of my mom to tell it again and again. There were more complications to this surgery than I'd ever had before. I kept thinking I was about to feel better when another issue would come up. I'd get sick, or they decided I need another procedure. I've been in hospitals enough to know my way around. I don't worry, I just go with it. If spending so much of my life so far in the hospital gave me any superpower, it was the ability to ignore pain. Flying or turning invisible would have been better, it's true. But everyone knows that you don't get to choose your superpower, it chooses you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. So I was going to write you a little part from my book, but I think we will run out of time. What I wanted to share with you is my childhood, because I grew up in Poland and I had normal, fun, awesome childhood. We climbed trees, we made soups out of mud and flower petals. Those are the things that I did. They were normal to me. That my kids look at me now and say like,